This was very nearly a finally, but I had to ask myself one question when I saw the release date. Am I petty enough to discount it on the grounds of being just 4 months shy of exactly 5 years old? And of course, I am that petty. So this isn't a finally, this is just me talking about Watch Dogs 2 from Ubisoft or Ubisoft. One of those is probably right. But whilst I enjoyed the predecessor, I obviously talked about it on this channel, it was a very personal tale. It was Aiden's story of, family tragedy driving him down the path he went down. That's fine. It worked as it was. The driving was shoddy, but for the most part it was okay and fun. So when it came to a sequel, I think pivoting it more to be a hacktivist group style thing, in the vein of Anonymous clearly, was a better idea. It's more about bringing down bad government entities or corporations that are trying to control you using your data, and in some cases even taking down cults, or at least trying to. So I did really enjoy this. Now, why did it take me so long? I've actually tried to play this at least 3 times. It's probably more, but 3 I can definitely recall, including this most recent. And I know one attempt I got annoyed at what I would consider a bit of a dissonance between the character of Markus and what the game wanted me to do. Like I said before, Aiden was very much vigilante, it was revenge, it was very much I'm going to shoot first, ask questions later. That was the mindset that you're meant to be in. This, however, is a group of people who want to make the world better by making authoritative entities, whether that be governmental or private sector, responsible, holding them accountable for their actions. They're not likely, or at least some of them, are not likely to shoot first, ask questions later, and I would consider Markus in that mould. Even though it is stated he's a gun owner, I do think it's more of a protection thing, and that's the character that I get from him. He isn't just going in guns blazing. However, there are missions where that feels like what you're meant to do. Now, this is a 5-year-old game, so there are spoilers coming. But there is a moment where I'm not going to say the character, but a specific character dies at some point. And after that point, I guess you could sort of roleplay it in your head, this is now a bit more revengey, and you can justify it. But I never got to that character's death before this most recent actual completion. So I could never justify shooting back, because at the end of the day, the Yemeni Zulu people are doing a job. They're security guards. It's their job. They're meant to be trying to take you down. When the police are called on site, they're doing their job. So I didn't feel it was justifiable to shoot these people. However, this most recent playthrough, I just leaned into it. I said, okay, I'll try being as, not pacifistic, but, non-lethal as possible. That's my original intent. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lean on the quadcopter and the jumper as tools. I'm going to lean on all the hacking abilities I have first. If I'm still struggling, then out comes some kind of actual firearm. And, okay, more often than not, I could get by at least the majority of a mission without it. And so I managed to complete it, and I really enjoyed the story. The emotional moments where Wrench gets kidnapped and you actually see the guy behind the mask, the death of that character, the growing affection, I'm sure, between Satara and Markus, the continued use of T-Bone as a character in Ubisoft games. It was all great. I really enjoyed it. Everyone did really well with their characters. Ruffin Prentice as Markus was kind of a good chunk of why I think I got that character where he isn't going to be walking in guns blazing. His warmth and friendliness, outgoing personality, really endeared me to the character and made me feel he was just someone who just wants to do good in the world. I think the other big standout was Sean Baichu as Wrench, because his mask being so expressive and his characterization, I guess, being sort of opposite, perhaps, to Markus, where he will just go in and blow stuff up because that's what he wants to do. That's his mindset. And like I say, everyone on this did really well. All these characters felt like people that I cared about and wanted to know more about. And I can see how this was a logical progression. We had Watch Dogs, a personal one-person tale, with occasional support from certain characters. We had Watch Dogs 2, which opens it up to a group of 4 or 5 people. And then, of course, Watch Dogs Legion most recently, where you can pretty much play as anyone, which I will play through at some point. That was part of the reason why I soldiered through this one. I managed to pick up Legion for what I consider a fair price for the Ultimate Edition. And I knew that I'd always have this thing in the back of my mind that I didn't finish 2 if I just went straight to that. So I pushed through a little more than I would have done. There were a couple of frustrating moments I almost gave up, but I'm like, no, I'm so close to the end. I can power this through, and I'm glad I did. The end was so satisfying. I'm glad I got to it. Okay, it took numerous attempts and many years, but I'm glad I got to it because it really does set the scene. The fact that they have a Matrix-esque ending of, you know, the world's opening up now on a phone call. It was just a fun time. The driving around was so much better than the first one as well. The radio stations, there's a bunch of songs that I'm now going to have to go and hunt out and acquire, because I didn't know about many of these songs before. I think a lot of them are by artists who have connections to the Bay Area, if not San Francisco directly. And yeah, whilst we're on that topic, I know it's not going to be a perfect representation, like London isn't perfectly represented in Legion and Chicago isn't in the first one, but it felt like what I know of San Francisco. I got to go up the Golden Gate Bridge and decorate it with graffiti. I got to photograph it from a drone. The ScoutX app and the mission, like not the missions, but the side activity of going around photographing different areas of the city was such a great way of helping you ground yourself in the geography. There's many times when people say, oh, we've got to go to X, Y, or Z place. I'm like, I know where that is. It really helps you learn where you are. Obviously, there is a GPS as well. There's so much in here that's so rewarding. I didn't 100% it. I think it was about 95, give or take. I didn't do all of the collecting the money and the jumper skins and stuff like that. I got as many research points as I found, and I got most of the key data. I wasn't too bothered about dropping bombs everywhere until late game, when I was like, that's actually really useful. But I got a lot of the stuff and just loaded myself up so that I could get as many skills as I want to make it simple for me. You know, I didn't have to struggle because I had the tools for the job. Using the cranes to get around the city and things like that, you know, such a great idea. And it really helped in solving puzzles, because that's what this is as well. There's elements of puzzle solving, not only in the actual, when you're sort of network bypassing, you've got to turn the things like a pipe game, but in things like solving, how do I get to the penthouse of this building? I can't see any access points. There's a crane across the road. Can I access that? And it really gets you thinking in how to use the city, but also the tools you have available to you, the apps you've got, the research you've acquired. All of these things meld perfectly together. You never feel like you're blocked off from something. There is always a way to do it. In fact, there's probably normally a bunch of different ways to do it. I've solved some problems by brute forcing. I've literally just tried to ram my quadcopter into a pipe to pick up a research point or a key data, one of those two. Whereas apparently you're meant to hook it up with explosives and blow it up. That's the official way of doing it, but no, you can just jam your quadcopter in there and do it. It's fine. So I haven't really seen anything about Legion, how well it is. You know, I know that some people have moaned about the fact that the missions are kind of repetitive, and you'll generally find yourself hunting citizens down who have hacking as a skill because it's Watch Dogs. But aside from that, I don't know much about it, and it's nice to see something based in a country that I'm more familiar with. So once I get round to that, maybe in another 4 or 5 years, who knows, hopefully sooner, I'll obviously talk about that as well and see how that adds to the narrative of the Watch Dogs universe, I guess. So that's all I really want to say about it. So until next time, as always, thank you for watching and take care.